April the 18th, 2023. We could start out by everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you don't mind, we have a moment of stand for a moment of silence. It's just brought to my attention that Miss Faye Miller, who was Assistant Superintendent of Schools and as one of her latest jobs in the county, had a serious stroke. John Dolgus' son, we've been speaking about him with his physical problems, and he's home. He's got a long ways to go. Please keep those two in our prayers. Thank you very much. Meeting and our time will be allotted at the end of each meeting for the commissioners to receive comments from the public. Next, we have some consent items. We have regular session minutes of April the 4th, 2023, liquor minutes of April the 4th, 2023, public hearing minutes of April the 4th, 2023, closed session minutes April the 4th, 2023, April bidder project manager information technology renewal of Verizon Wireless GSA contract. Entertain a motion to approve or
So moved.
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We also have a special Class C license for the Sons of the Betterton American Legion are requesting beer, wine, and liquor license for April the 29th, 2023. And we have a Eastern Shore Rabbit Rescue and Education Center Incorporated, beer only, for May the 20th, 2023. Due to these being liquor licenses, we need to have a public hearing. We will consider tonight that public hearing. If anyone has any comments for or against these two applications, please feel free to do so at this time. There being none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve both licenses, liquor licenses, as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Now, County Attorney Thomas Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have one item tonight for legislative session. This is Code Home Rule 1, 2023. You've already had a public hearing on this, and there have been no comments received after the public hearing. This is essentially a housekeeping item, as there were provisions in your code that were moved to the land use ordinance, and what should have happened way back 20 years ago or so, when they were moved to the land use ordinances, we should have removed them from the general county code, and that did not happen. So Mr. Mackey spotted that, and we have an ordinance to take care of that. So we're still going to have provisions for erosion and sediment control and floodplain management and forest conservation. They're just going to be solely located in the land use ordinance as well as instead of the county code. So you would entertain a motion to go into legislative session. Mr. Mackey is here if there's any questions you may have. If you don't have any questions, then you can entertain a motion and vote.
Okay, we need a motion to go into legislative session.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We are in legislative session. Mr. Mackey, did you want to, you have anything you want to say?
No additions, sir. Available to answer questions if you like.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions about this legislation? It's basically a housekeeping issue. So if there's no one in the audience, was it something we done, Mustard? I mean, you didn't even give me time to make you mad, for Lord's sake.
He just wanted to introduce the new people.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought he would have.
They're not leaving.
Yeah, tell them to hang around. Oh, we do want to meet them.
As long as they're not going to take any of us with them.
No, we don't
to,
want to get back.
their place of business.
Not sure about everybody in the audience.
No, that's for sure. A couple there, we could send them back.
So you want a motion to go back in open session?
I'm looking at Otis this time, bro.
What we do need is a motion to approve this legislative change.
I'll make a motion to adopt Code Home Rule 1-2023 to amend the public to local laws of Kent County, Maryland.
I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Now I need a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. First appointment is we have the Kent County Chiefs Association, James Price, President, and Alan Shawver, Secretary, for fiscal year 2024 funding request. Welcome, gentlemen, and whoever wants to speak on behalf of the fire chiefs, feel free to come up forward and introduce yourself and let us know how we can help you. And first of all, let me say it's a pleasure to have you all with us. We don't have to go. We want to express our appreciation for all the hard work you do. It's one of the most important parts of the county, and done by mostly volunteers, plus the paramedic and EMT service that we've put in place. But we don't get very many opportunities to say thank you, so thank you all that's here.
Thank you.
Well, we thank you. I do have a packet for each of the commissioners. What I'm going to present this evening. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Thompson. I'm past president and past fire chief of the Churchtown Volunteer Fire Company, and I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the 7 fire and EMS companies that make up the Kent County Fire Chiefs Association who are in attendance tonight. We are here this evening to ask that you consider an increase to the allotments that are given to the fire companies each year. We would like for you to increase our portion of the real property tax base from today's rate of .0322 per 100 to .0488 per 100. We understand that to do this, a new bill will have to be submitted to the Maryland legislature, and ask that you consider preparing this for next year's session. We would also suggest that an automatic increase every 3 years of 0.1% of a percent be incorporated in the new bill, so the funding would change periodically. Also, we would also ask for a short-term fix, and if you could consider increasing the fund for each company in the 2024 fiscal budget, we would appreciate it. We would like to also thank you and ask for your continued funding of our LoSAP program. This program is instrumental in the recruitment and retention for each company. All of what we've asked for here tonight is due to the soaring cost and involved in providing the fire and EMS protection for the citizens of Kent County. Some of those costs are as follows. A new fire engine, $900,000. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but about 25 years ago, Chestertown bought 2 engines for approximately $425,000, and now you can't buy 2 engines for just under $2 million. A new ambulance is approximately $330. Breathing apparatus is $8,100 per riding position. Turnout gear is $3,500 per set. And the rescue squad now has to pay their staff $275,000 plus annually, just to name a few. So your consideration on these requests would be appreciated, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else going to be speaking?
No, sir.
Well, I'm sorry?
Unless you have questions.
No, as you know, we're going, this is the beginning, this is our second meeting that we've had with our budget process, and we will take your request like we would anyone else's. And again, let me just thank you all for the hard work you do. Would cost us a fortune if it wasn't for you. So it's, like I said, we don't get a chance to say thank you to too often, but we want to take advantage of it. So thank you, and you'll hear from us as all departments throughout the county will. And we'll see what we can put together.
All right, very good. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Any
very much.
consideration would be a help.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And listen, there's a couple you might want to leave behind next time you come in
I
front of us. They're
understand.
pretty rough character. You might put them on the other side over there, because that's where they'll probably end up, the two we're talking
In
about.
case you're wondering, Jeff, what Commissioner Fithian's referring to is some of those right on the front row.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all,
Thank you
gentlemen.
for what you do.
You
It
can,
looks like a line up there, to tell you the
yeah.
truth.
Well, and they ought to be used to it. They've been in some.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
All right. I'm gonna have Captain Mustard come forward and introduce the new correctional officers.
Are you Honey Mustard or are you?
I wouldn't know what else to call you, Mustard. That's all, I call you that all the time, but I never usually put captain in front of it, but we're a little more official tonight.
And I'm gonna bring up Sergeant Shepherd. Sergeant Shepherd's our senior sergeant, and he's gonna introduce all the rest of the officers coming up, and they can, greet you and everything like that, so you'll know them. Because like right now, we're, almost fully staffed for the first time in a long time. With COVID and all that stuff that took place and all that, and the staff that we have now, awesome, and we can't even have no complaints on them at all. Everybody came in, it fit right in, so.
Very good.
And we call them family already, so.
Well, and again, look, this goes right along with the fire chiefs. We get to see many of your officers at one time in here, and it's always, we want to take the opportunity to say thanks for the job you do. And it's very well appreciated, very much appreciated.
Thank you. Like I said, and this is Sergeant Shepherd, he's our senior sergeant at the detention center right now.
Very good.
Like you said, senior sergeant, been there 20 years April. Just want to let you guys know that we appreciate you guys requesting the detention center. Doesn't go unnoticed. And I also want to bring up Officer Spassky. All great officers, all excellent, no problems, no issues. Wish we had more like them.
Hi, I'm Officer Stephanie Switolski. I started in February of 2022 and moved into pretrial in November of 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the
Nice to
good work.
meet you.
And she's also, one of the ones who hit the new MAT program. That the new legislation that went through, so she's doing a great job on that also.
Very good.
I'm sorry, this is Davis Schroeder. Officer Davis Schroeder. How you doing? Good job.
I started in December 2021.
So it-
Yeah, he's one of the quiet ones at the detention center.
Well, quiet or not, it's nice to meet you.
Yep, same here.
Thank you.
This is Officer Jacobs.
I'm Officer Leah Jacobs. I started in September of 2022.
Nice,
Thank you.
welcome, welcome.
Big job.
I'm Officer Kenyon Johns. I started in March 2022.
Very nice to have you. Nice to have you all in. Oh, you got one more, I'm sorry. Okay. He was hiding back there, I couldn't
Missing
see
a
him.
couple, like I'm missing a couple that, they was overlooked a little bit.
Officer Newman.
I'm Officer Jalen Newman. I started in February this year.
One of our newest officers who's fitting in, and, matter of fact, he's on the floor working already, so,
Welcome.
and they call him Junior.
Now, have all of these been away for the training, Mustard?
No,
that-
sir, and, we still have the same, one, two, just three officers still have to go to training,
And that lasts for
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
But after that, we'll be good to go
Very good.
until the next one
thank you very much for coming in. It's nice to be able to put faces to the people that that we hire, and, you know, it's great to see you all, and, we appreciate everything you do.
All right, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Y'all may stay or you may leave.
Well, I guess we know where we stand. They're getting out of here.
And they're probably going to jail, too.
Charles Mills, the GAFF Consultancy. He's here to speak about the Police Accountability Board recommendations, or Police Accountability Board update.
Good evening,
Charlie?
gentlemen.
Uh-huh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the recommendations before you are for 2 individuals to bring the board back up to a full 7 members. As you may recall, we lost 1 member to medical issues, and 2, and this is part of what I wanted to inform you about today, 2 of the Police Accountability Board members exercised the options in the law that the Administrative Charging Committee is appointed 2 of the members by the Police Accountability Board. And it turns out that 2 of our board members, once they understood the full breadth of the responsibilities of the entire process, preferred membership on the Administrative Charging Committee. So at the inaugural Police Accountability Board meeting, the board voted 2 of its own onto the Administrative Charging Committee. So we already have that part of it complete. So these 2 gentlemen will replace those 2 members, bringing the board back up to 7. And then we still need to recruit. There's a couple candidates that are possible. Anyone within the sound of my voice, if you or anyone you know would be interested or have the gumption to do investigative work for the Administrative Charging Committee, please let me know or fill out an application online. Anyone? But we are looking for 2 more members. Upon completion, we are working with a couple neighboring counties to get the Training and Standards Commission to come over to the Eastern Shore to do a training for us instead of sending our people over to Sykesville, which currently that's their preference, but we're sort of battling them on that.
Now, correct me, or Tom, if, I mean, we see the names of the 2 individuals. Once we approve or disapprove them, then we can name them if they're approved. I mean, is there any reason?
There's no, it's not like employment where there's any type of screening.
Follow-up, yeah.
And I would assume that these individuals are going to accept the appointment. Is that-
Yes, they've already preliminarily accepted. They know that their names are being put forward for approval.
Then I think if you make the appointment, you could release their names.
Yeah.
That would be my opinion.
In a matter of course, over the next week or so, their names, as a prelude to the next Police Accountability Board meeting, they'll be posted online anyway.
Okay. Sheriff? Entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended candidates to the Police Accountability Board.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The only reason I was going to mention, I think you've come up with 2 outstanding individuals.
Yeah.
One is Mr. Leon Friesen, and then we all know him, and then second is Mr. Lamont Cook, who I think everybody pretty much knows. They're 2 great choices.
Been trying to reel them in for a while now. Finally landed them.
I'm glad
So.
you were able to do that. They're great candidates.
Yeah, they're
And they'll
good choices.
perform their duties with integrity.
Indeed. So that, like I said, brings the board back up to full strength. Now we just have 2 members to recruit for the Administrative Charging Committee, and then that will also be up to full strength. So if anyone knows anyone, again.
Can you give us an update on where you are with the administrative judge?
The administrative judge is, well, it's interesting you asked that. There's a possible wrinkle where there's a rumor, I think still a rumor, but it's not confirmed, right? Yes, well.
Understood by a couple of counties that the state is going to provide the judges.
That's not confirmed, though. So, but we do have a solution nonetheless. We have an administrative, well, not administrative, we have a retired judge who is on board, and the attempt is going to be to create a regional trial board commission that she would lead.
Is this an administrative law judge?
It is.
Okay, because
Yes.
the circuit, there was that ethics opinion.
Yeah, the
that said
ethics
that
committee
retired circuit
said
court and district court judges can't do
semi-retireds
it.
are out, but she's
Right.
completely retired.
And she was
So
an ALJ, administrative law judge?
I believe she was a circuit court district, yeah. So, I,
So she's not taking assignments, sitting as a senior
No.
judge anywhere?
no, which is, that ethics committee decision really hurt because most judges sit somewhere, but she does not.
Generally, if they're still mentally competent to sit,
Well,
they
we-
sit.
We
and collect the
found
per
the
diem.
needle in the haystack. So even if this rumor turns out to not be true, where the state is going to provide that function, we're in pretty good shape.
Well, you say they're gonna provide it, are they gonna pay for it too?
Yes.
That's it's still a rumor though, so.
So they would have administrative law judges, like instead of doing, let's say, MVA hearings, the state would assign them to do Police Accountability Board hearings or charging, whatever we want to call it, hearings.
Yeah, presumably.
And there would be,
On rotation.
and we wouldn't get a bill.
No,
That's a good,
TBD, more to follow.
that's a good solution if that can happen.
A lot of the counties pushed back rather vehemently because of the cost of.
Right.
And the difficulty in finding judges that fit the criteria.
Right. The universe is extremely small.
Indeed. And you're asking, especially out this way, you're asking them to idle for extended periods of time.
Right.
But, yeah, we shall see. But I think either way, that is largely solved. If it's left to us, we have a good solve for that already in place.
Very good. Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Next, we'll hear from the Historic Preservation Commission members dealing with the Turner's Creek discussion.
Good evening.
Good evening. You want to introduce yourself and tell us what, and we'll get the discussion started.
Certainly. My name is Elizabeth Beckley. I am the Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission for Kent County. I have been on this commission since, I believe, 2005, since its inception. And
I'm Jeremy Rothwell. I also serve on the Historic Preservation Commission. I live in Massey, and I'm planner for the town of Smyrna, president of Delaware Preservation Fund.
And Jennifer Moore, I'm a member for the 2018, I believe, 2017, resident of Kent County.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
welcome. So we are here tonight to talk to you about plans for the granary at Turner's Creek. It is a conversation that the county has been having, as you know, for many years. And there have been subsequent issues over the years that have kept that project from moving forward. Then there's breaks in that time where we were able to stabilize the building. And the question has always come back to use and what we're going to do with it. It is an extremely important resource. It is probably the last remaining standing grain warehouse in the state of Maryland, certainly in Kent County, but also importantly in the state of Maryland. It is part of the much larger historic complex down at Turner's Creek that includes the Latham House and includes Knox Folly. It's on the Sassafras, is it the Gateways Network? Yep, Chesapeake Gateways Network, Sassafras Natural Resource Management Area, and the list goes on and on. It's a very important structure, and I believe that on our watch, and it has been our watch for a long time, to try and protect this building, that we do everything we can in our power to try and accomplish that. I believe that we have a lot of partners out there, given the significance of the resource, who are interested in helping us, and we are simply looking for the time to make that approach to these funders to assist us in our efforts and try and take the onus off of the county to support the building.
So we understand money's limited, for budget time. We certainly understand that. Emphasize that this isn't a very significant building in the sense that, every single, you used to have a series, dozens of these landings all up and down along the coastline. We used to own a lot of the land down Turners Creek Road, and my grandfather would say, he used to ship grain and tomatoes and everything out of there to Baltimore City. And these are the, fortunately, this is about the last one standing. But in terms of what we can do moving forward, I did provide that, Mr. Mackey had provided forward to you back in March. I typed up a thing in terms of a potential path forward in terms of how you take it in baby steps and some digestible steps to move forward. And I think that starts with the county has already helped to secure the building by putting some fencing around to keep it as a public safety issue. But I think that the county had provided and paid for, to the Public Works Department, a structural assessment for the building a number of years ago, over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I think step one is have that updated, okay, to identify what needs to be and what's the potential cost to be able to, not to restore the building, but to be able to stabilize the building so it doesn't fall down and become a public health hazard or public safety hazard. And I think I can obtain grant funding for you to at least fund 50% of that assessment. The Public Works directors, thought that it would be in the $20,000 range or $25,000, perhaps a little bit more, to be able to update that structural assessment. We have some grant funding that's coming up, that comes up for closing. The National Trust has an endowed funding source just for the Eastern Shore counties. The Bartis True, who grant fund, has grant funding for up to $25,000 for non-capital and capital. And I think that's due June the 15th. So if you were to give us permission with a green light to be able to apply for grant funding, we could get you 50% at least to update that structural assessment so that we can come up with how you stabilize the building. And once that's done, I think the long-term solution is to do some sort of RFP to be able to, with local nonprofits. And we've already had one group already contact us and contact the county, that's interested in doing environmental education and kayak rental sort of things out of the site and utilizing that structure. So following that, do an RFP to figure out what the long-term use could potentially be, and then move forward with a capital renovation to do that structure. And there are grants available, and I put that in my letter to that I gave Mr. Mackey that was passed on to you, and I'd be happy to talk about any of them. But there are capital funding available that can or should be used, that I've applied for in the past in my other lines of work, that I can help assist you with. All grants, or almost all grants, require some sort of local match. Sometimes it's 50%, sometimes it's 10%, sometimes it's 20%, but almost all grants, as you well know, require some sort of match. But I think once you get that updated structural assessment, I think we can have another conversation, because then we know what the true issues are, perhaps.
Mhm.
So.
I would also offer that over the many years that we've been talking about the granary at Turners Creek, it's always come back to the main point that this is a very significant structure for our county. It sits in a very public place, an important public place, and an important public landing. We've always come back to the notion that, or the understanding that this is an important historic resource for us. That's never been a point of contention for anybody in discussing this resource. The question has always been, and has been, how are we going to get there? I think we have more partners now, as Jeremy's saying, than ever to try and do that. I think it's hard to, when you're looking at a building that's in this condition, it looks rather desperate. And it is desperate. It doesn't have to be desperate. This building has been beautiful before and in the recent past. I was looking through pictures of the building even back in 2010 and back in 2007 and 2006, when we were talking about this and discussing what we were going to do with it. And just prior to that, when it was in very good condition and completely whitewashed, it was beautiful. It was something that Kent County has to be really proud of. And it's something that people are going to see, and it's more than just Kent County residents who are going to see it. So I would very much appreciate if we could have the time to, and the permission to apply for these grants, and to try and put a plan forward to you that may be something that would be palatable, that you could get behind, so that we could save this resource, because once it's gone, there are no more. There's only one. That's it.
You want to, anybody have any questions, or?
Well, I guess I would agree that it is a kind of a statewide monument, county monument. The only drawback to it is in desperate need. I mean, I kind of toured it myself off the record one day, and it is.
I do too when I go kayaking.
It is in desperate need, and it has been let go. I would, fully support the revitalization of it, provided that we could get grants to do it. I mean, the county, we're just beginning stages of this budget, and I'm learning a lot. But it doesn't take much to learn that we don't have a whole lot of extra money, as everybody here knows. But I would love to see it revitalized, and I do think that it could be a talking point, or an addition, certainly an addition to what we have going on in Turner's Creek. If we can get some funding available and going, then I think that I would personally be open to that. But I just don't know. The county we don't have the.
We understand that. We do.
So Bart is true to the National Trust requires a 50% match for the planning grant, which is due June the 15th. Would you entertain giving us a match of $10,000 if it costs $20,000 to do an updated structural assessment to the building, and us obtaining $10,000 worth of grant funding?
And this grant would be to determine what we do with it.
Essentially, just like a building inspection, when you buy a house or any other building, says you need to do A through Z to the building. And they make recommendations in terms of how the building can be rehabbed and stabilized. It's a structural engineer. The county had previously contracted with a structural engineer.
At Gridell, I believe it was Gridell in 2010 who did the structural assessment.
And we would know the answer to this on June 5th, by June 15th.
You would apply for this grant on June 15th. It would take, it's been a couple of years since I've applied, but.
It takes a couple months.
It takes about maybe 2 months, and then the county with the procurement and everything like that, if we just have a standing contract where you can just contract with the structural engineer to have that completed within 30 days, then by the fall, they can have an answer in terms of this is what needs to be done to the building, and it can give you the pros and cons of it's going to cost this much to restore the building, stabilize the building, and then it becomes a cost-benefit analysis.
That's FY '24 money.
It's also not the only grant that's out there, but it's the most immediate source of funds that we can get to do something right this second.
Right, yeah.
And in the time that we're doing that, there are a bevy of other pots of money that we can talk about accessing with you and what that would look like. So this is buying us the time to do that, to try and.
There's a 50% match for the design or the.
Yes, it is.
But then, when it comes time, is it still 50% match?
For the capital? For the capital, there's a couple other grant opportunities that would be available, and some of those only require like a 20% match for, depending on how you work it. So Delaware, we're utilizing what's called a Paul Broom grant for rural buildings. We're only requiring a 10% match on that, but each jurisdiction has the ability to establish and be able to compete in terms of what that match is. You have to provide a match. It doesn't have to be a particular match. So,
Now, how soon would you have to have the answer for this? As,
so in terms of,
soon enough that you can get the
so that
grant
we
in by
can-
June
It's not
15th?
a complicated, it's not a complicated grant application.
We've written them.
It's probably, it could probably be done in 10, 15 hours. It's not like applying for a USDA grant or EDA or something like that.
They've been used in this county before to stabilize rural structures.
Right, but the alternative is, if you're willing to do it, is the county just pays whatever it costs to do the updated structural assessment, and that can be done immediately if you want an immediate answer. If you want an immediate answer for budget time, that would probably be the fastest and most practical way. But if you want to get grant funding that could fund 50% of that $20,000 cost, estimated. I mean, we had a conversation briefly with the Public Works Director, that that's probably how much it would cost, potentially.
So, just for
Well,
example.
it doesn't, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for example, if you guys had an answer by May 15th, that would give you 30 days. If the answer was yes, they'd provide a match, it
Yeah,
would
we
be
could get
30
it done.
days,
Yes,
At
and-
which would give them time to turn around an application.
In order to apply for the grant,
That's correct.
there's really no commitment needed at this point until you accept the grant.
That is correct. So just like any grant agreement, you have to sign on the dotted line that you would, at the time of the execution of that grant, that you would essentially agree to provide that match as outlined, whatever that 50% number is.
The funds would need to be committed for FY '24.
Well, as we've said, we're 2 meetings into trying to put together a $50+ million budget, and it's a lot to it, and we could either, what I would ask is maybe either you jot down a simple letter of request, and so we can have it on record, or possibly just the fact that they're here, we could make note of. I mean, but it may be more professional, I think, and if you could send us a letter outlining what your request is, and we can take it under advisement, just like all the other parts of our budget.
If the full budget is for FY '24, we could potentially put in there what the capital opportunities could be, capital grant opportunities that we could apply for, that could potentially be spent, within FY '24, once that assessment is completed, if you're able to move forward in the fall.
We are gonna have to do something one way or the
One way
other.
or
I
the
mean,
other, I think you're gonna have to do
the fact that that fence was put around there certainly doesn't bring glamour to the situation. It's really for protection of, number one, keeping people out of there, because, some of the tin and some of the boards and stuff are starting to leave us, and,
And I would remind the board as well that the county accepted funding, about 15, 20 years ago for this.
I was
And
part of
it
that.
was,
Yeah.
And if you choose to demolish the building, which we recommend that you don't, you do have to.
We have to give a portion of that back.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we're,
Actually, all of it. So in 2009, the county accepted 58,500. So if the structure is demolished, you'd need to spend 58,500 on something in that immediate vicinity.
right.
Right, it is part of a National Register complex. I mean, this is part of a much bigger program that's happening down on Turner's Creek. And we don't have anything else like this on the waterfront in Kent County. We just don't.
Yeah. I mean, you were very fortunate when the county bought it from Stu Barrell's family back in
74.
72, whatever it was. I mean, it was a village. I mean, in a way, you had a half dozen buildings and structures on there, so.
So we,
Has anyone, I'm sorry, sure.
That 50-some thousand that we
That was when we put those
received,
steel
that's
girders
when you
through.
put the steel girders.
Mhm.
Has anyone reached out? I know Mr. Gilchrist spends a lot of time in that area. Have you guys reached out to him? I mean, he's got pretty big arms, I would say, in other places that we don't maybe have access to.
Sure, I mean, I know Mr. Gilchrist very well, and actually when he started doing his environmental education program, I helped get him set up, because I knew family used to own a lot of property down there, and I helped him get started and everything with some of that stuff. And I think the list that I put together and that, Gail Owings put together for us, I think is pretty comprehensive in terms of the available funds out there, which is fairly extensive in terms of what the county would be able to apply for, to be able to assist in, repurposing the structure so that it's,
useful
useful.
and attractive. and not dangerous.
If my colleagues don't disagree with me, I think maybe send us a letter, put it in writing, what you're asking and what you would like to see done. We'll take it in advisement, under advisement with the rest of the project, and we'll have a discussion about it, we'll let you know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
very
really
much.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And along those lines, Jeremy, don't forget to turn on channel 22 tonight, correct, Ms. Jack?
I don't have television.
Well, you should.
We don't have television that massive.
Google it then. I know everybody has Google.
I don't have internet either.
Channel 22 tonight is about this very thing, it's Kent County Storied Landscapes.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kristen's in that, isn't she?
I don't know about that, but I've.
It's on MTV.
Yeah.
At 8:30 tonight. You can stream it on your computer. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Wayne Darrell, Director of Emergency Services, the consideration of the county 911 fees.
Good evening, Commissioners. So just to follow up from what we talked about last week, in order to increase the fee, it requires public notice. So we wanted to try and see what you wanted to decide this evening, or whether to increase, and then so we can have that notice for this.
Real briefly, can you explain it real briefly again for the people in the audience or those that's watching?
On everybody's phone bill, everybody pays per line at this moment, $1.25 here in Kent County. 50 cents of that goes to the Maryland 911 Board for project funding to support 911 centers. The other 75 cents of that goes to Kent County to support the 911 center. We, at this time, from 911 fees, get about $190,000. This does not apply to prepaid, it's a separate part, so we get $193,000, but we get about $189,000 out of this fund. And we're allowed now on legislation to increase it to help cover the cost of the 911 center up to the cost of the 911 center. Many counties in the state have done it already, between 50 cents, $1. I was told last week there's one county that just raised it to $3 for the county fee.
And what's the cost of the 911 center currently?
It was $1,100,000, I think is
So
what
we're
I
not
came
even
up on the last.
Right.
We don't even come close to
We ran
covering.
193,000, so we have an $800,000 deficit in there.
When you say per line, that would be, if we raised it 75 cents per line, it would be per line.
Per line, but then go to $2 per line, 50 cents to the state, $1.50 to Kent County.
So that
For me, I have 4 lines, it would be $8 on my bill.
Now, is this one line?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
The increase stays in Kent County?
Yes,
Yes, that 75 cents goes to Kent County.
It comes back to help us pay for the
It does.
yes.
911 system.
And the state doesn't receive any other revenue from that.
Not the increase.
It's capped at 50%.
50 cents.
50 cents.
50 cents, I
50
mean.
cents.
But I mean, regarding what the rate is, they only get 50 cents of it.
That's correct.
Is there any proposal to raise the state rate?
Not at the moment. The 911 board director came and visited our center last week when we went to Next Gen 911. And there's discussions based on budget that they might have to do that eventually, but at this point, there's none.
Because if we raised it, the state raised it, then the consumer would have a
Yeah.
significantly higher bill.
At this point, there's none. His concern is that there's some big projects coming up, and it would take time to get them to raise it. It would take a couple of years for the state to be able to raise it. So in the near future, it won't be raised. But there's a possibility.
And the recommendation, if I'm not mistaken, was 75 cents?
Yes, sir.
And we do need a decision tonight if we're gonna move forward with it for the FY '24 budget year, because the state is requiring an answer by May 1st, and we have to have a public hearing next week.
This is just an approval for a public hearing, not
To
necessarily.
move the process
forward.
To move the,
Yeah.
to move
Just
the,
a-
yeah, to move
Right.
the process forward.
You'd have the public hearing, and then after the public hearing, you would vote on the rate increase.
Correct.
Correct. But the public needs to know what you're considering for the rate increase, and that way they can participate
Right.
in the public.
And just because of the timetable, if we're gonna do this, we have to move quickly. So the public hearing would be next week if you move forward.
And again, just to reiterate the idea that it's to go to pay for the 911 system, and right now, we're spending over $1 million and collecting a couple $100,000 at the top.
That's correct.
So we're like 800 in the hole, if you look at it that way, yes. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve staff to proceed with a public hearing notice and an advertisement for the proposed increase of the 911 fees in Kent County not to exceed $1.50. And ours are currently at 75 cents. So the increase will be 75 cents.
A second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Wayne.
Mr. President, with this now set, I'm going to read into the record the public notice for the hearing, because we need to do that because we're going to have a public hearing. So,
But before you do,
Sure.
I think there was
a
question or
I
two.
think,
Let's
yeah.
take that first.
Actually, before Director Darrell got up and left, we wanted to give him something on behalf of the chief. We didn't realize he was gonna be here this evening. Alan Shawver put it together, but on behalf of the Kent County Fire Chiefs, we wanted to say thank you and happy retirement. Sorry about that.
That was fine.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it was very nice.
You guys want to get a picture? You guys want to get a picture or something?
Yes.
Everybody? Yeah.
You can
Well,
take
well,
it
you
right
guys
over
can-
there against the wall if you'd like.
Let's get a picture and then
Right.
Tom can read the
Yeah.
notices.
Good plan.
Not just me. Al, you made it. Charlotte.
All the fire chiefs ought to be,
Absolutely.
participate in it.
Oh, in the back.
Now, I'm gonna tell you, if that camera holds up with that bunch, that's a good camera. Troy White,
If that thing
get
don't
behind
break-
somebody.
Thank you.
All right.
It's been the joy of my 15 years working with these guys, and the relationship over the years has gotten a whole lot better. It's really incredible for what they do as volunteers.
Very good. Thank you, and we thank you as well.
Absolutely.
Tom, you want to finish what you got to do there now?
Right, because the hearing is going to be at our next meeting, I need to read the public notice into the record, so here goes. The County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland do hereby provide public notice. The following resolution has been introduced on April 18th, 2023. Will be subject to a public hearing before the County Commissioners on April 25th, 2023 at 10 a.m. The meeting is open to the public. No later than noon on Friday, April 21, 2023. Citizens may call 410-778-4600 and press 4, or email kentcounty@kentgov.org to receive further instructions. The purpose of the hearing will be to discuss Resolution 2023-06, raising the charge applied to current telephone bills rendered for switched local exchange access service, commercial mobile radio services providers, also known as CMRS, or other 911 accessible service providers within Kent County, from 75 cents to $1.50 per month. This is by order of the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Sandra M. Blackiston, Clerk, and it will be published in the Kent County News on April 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Shailen Bolden, excuse me. She's Tourism Manager, Economic and Tourism Development, here to talk about the Chestertown Tea Party Award entitled Stars of Delaware 2021 and 2022. Shailen?
Hi, good evening. So I'm just going to take a second to introduce Joy Ferrio from the Delaware State News, who is going to present 2 awards to the Tea Party community. So representing Tea Party is Monica Sella and Thomas Egan.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Joy. I work for Delaware State News. a yearly readers poll for Stars of Delaware. And consistently, for the third year in a row, our Delaware readers won in King County, Maryland section. Because they have the opportunity to, it's right in, so they can put who they want. We couldn't, the first year we kept trying to like push out, because it was Delaware, and then finally we just added a King County section. Because the crossover between Delaware and Maryland is so high, we didn't want to open it up to Maryland because there's no way I could cover the whole state. So we kept it minimized to just King County, Maryland. And for the second year in a row, Tea Party has won King County event, favorite King County event. This is the Delaware readers and the Maryland readers that get the Delaware State News. So that's why it's called Stars of Delaware. However, there is a King County section in this readers poll because we can't block them, so we just decided to let them be a part of it. So King County is now involved. We would like to change the title, but if I do that, I need 3 more of me to cover Maryland, and I'm too old for that. So congratulations. 2022, I wasn't sure, I wanted them to get to the right hand, so I kept 21 with me until I found Shannon, who said, this is where you take it.
Very
And
good.
then here is, there's 2 banners. This is, you can hang at Tea Party to let people know. And then I have another banner for you to hang at an office or, so. I am a native of King County, so this makes me very happy.
Very good, thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
And why don't you all have a picture taken here together and receiving that?
I got you.
Shallon, you be getting,
I didn't help with Tea Party at all yet, so. By the way, we're in the middle of the contest this year, so everybody should go in and vote. Vote, vote.
okay.
I took like 6, so one of them was not really. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very good. And congratulations to the Tea Party at Chestertown Tea Party.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See you.
County Administrator.
I have 2 items for consideration and a few report outs for you. The first is a request for a waiver of penalty fees. We get these from time to time. Sometimes it's a request of penalties for property tax, late payments on property taxes, sometimes it's utility bills. The county's policy has always been to deny these requests unless we find that there's been a fault of a county employee or a process of the county. Otherwise, we have not typically honored these requests. This one in particular is a request on a late payment for a utility bill. And staff is requesting that you honor our current policy.
I think, and just to bring my colleagues, to speak to my colleagues, really, there's no way we can determine why somebody, I mean, they're saying that they didn't get it, but we mailed it out. Now, you know, should they be taking this up with the post office or somebody else? You know,
Once you open Pandora's box on this, hard to say.
we've always just made the policy. I'm not saying you can't change it, because you can, but the policy in the past has been, unless you can show that the county made the mistake, then we don't have any way of knowing who's right and who's wrong. And, I mean, but that's what we've done in the past, but you certainly, it's your say.
They're asking for waiver fees for,
A utility bill for payment, late payment.
It was late payment on a utility bill.
aren't they sent out monthly,
Quarterly.
or I mean quarterly? And
You're correct, it's the responsibility, I mean, just like your credit cards, you know, I mean, you're probably gonna lose track from time to time of a particular bill, but these are very regularly scheduled payments.
4 times a year, I get one.
Mhm.
So I make a motion to deny the request to return the penalty fees assessed.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Well done. And that's, we don't get many of these, couple a year maybe sometimes, but it's been that way ever since I've been around here, and anyhow. Okay, and
Okay.
then Commission on Aging bylaws.
Correct. So one of your beloved commissions is the Commission on Aging, and they have a set of bylaws by which they operate. For them to amend their bylaws, it's actually you that amends them by resolution. They would like, on February 14th, we briefly discussed this, and you seem to be in favor of this, but what they would like to do is remove from their bylaws the provision that a chair, the chair of the commission can only serve 2 consecutive terms. So they would like that provision removed. And if you choose to go forward, that would happen by you signing this resolution. The Commission on Aging members are in support of this, and they have followed through with their end of the process as spelled out in the bylaws to make this happen.
I would only say that, you know, what I've seen over the past is when you get good people and they're doing a great job, if they want to continue to do it and you don't have anybody else beating on the door to take their place, then Kent County is a small county. To find people that are willing to serve and serve properly and do a good job, I think we're foolish if we tell those people that. Unless there's certain boards, like planning boards, things like that, or that's spelled out and we have to do what it says. But these kind of boards, it's when you've got people that are doing a great job, it's hard to say no, that we don't need you anymore. But that's my beliefs anyhow. Is anybody else?
I would concur, I think.
I agree with it as well. So I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the bylaws and approve resolution 2023-05 as presented.
A second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, a couple items just for your information. The first is there was a letter received from the county manager of Talbot County, Clay Stam, and he has just notified Santo Grande, the executive director of DCT, that Talbot County is again willing to take the lead on the transit plan hearing, which it's a 3-county collaboration, Talbot, Caroline, and Kent, for our contract with DCT as our transit provider, as that is the state designation from the state. So they're taking the lead on that, and those hearings will be coordinated.
Have we heard from Santa Grande as far as when he wants to come before the board?
Yes, so I believe it's gonna be, Keith Atkins is on the agenda. Is it May 2nd?
I believe it's the second Tuesday in May.
Okay, so it's second Tuesday in May.
The
So-
reason I asked that, because there was a meeting that was supposed to take place between me and one of the commissioners from Caroline.
Correct.
I'd like to see if we
Yes.
can't get that done
Yep.
before we all meet with Santa Grande.
I have reached out to the county administrator of Caroline, and we
Very
are
good.
working on the date,
Very good.
or possible dates, and then the two of you can figure
Yeah,
it out.
that's
Yes,
fine.
Absolutely. National opioid settlements, you at the last meeting maybe, you had signed that you were willing to be a part of 4 of the 5 settlements that the state put forward, and you basically signed the paper copies. It's an online portal. You had delegated authority to me previously, so in the portal, they're expecting my signature, so I electronically signed on your behalf, and attached is the documentation.
And they specifically approved that at the meeting when you were away.
Correct.
So you're good.
Absolutely. The next is you had requested that a letter be sent to the Honorable Stephanie M. Smith from the House of Delegates, the Maryland House of Delegates, for her basically support on House Bill 1196, which did get Kent County $250,000, but also embedded in that bill, as President Fithian has brought to our attention today, is the unfortunate Kerwin implementation.
Yeah, I'm not,
split.
listen, I applaud her for her support on that bill, and I was there to testify with her that day, but I'm less as joyous now as I was
know,
then,
but
but
to
it had
her-
nothing to do with her.
Right, exactly.
She did a great
In her
job.
defense, her original bill was to get each county $150,000 to help pay for the implementation coordinator.
Yes, and then we
And-
find out that it also
It
falls
more.
into the wealth formula
Right.
where we get killed.
Right, so yet again.
Okay, well, you've sent that letter, or,
And next is the enterprise zone for Betterton. We have a fully executed grant application, or application for enterprise zone at this point, because the town of Betterton's signed resolution is included in the packet now. So that is complete and included in your packets if you would like to review it. And then finally, on the 4th of April, there was a letter of support sent to Commissioner Breeding of Caroline County. And this was the support letter to extend the life of the Midshore Regional Landfill in Caroline County. And so they held a public hearing in Caroline County to hear from the public, and your letter was simply saying Kent County is supportive, as you know. So that letter was signed and sent. And that's all I have for you today.
okay. Next, we have Ms. Bonnie S. Pearsall. She's the Inspector of the Kent Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement. She's here with some license updates and alcoholic beverage license renewal applications.
Yes. This is for the 2023 alcoholic beverage license renewals. All the county-issued alcohol license will expire on the last day of this month. We had all of our renewal applications sent in. There was 52 license submitted, and having met the basic requirements for their application to be considered by the board, the staff recommends approval and acceptance of the applications, including any changes noted. We had 8 licenses submitted a renewal application and are subject to one or more contingencies. The staff recommends approval of the application subject to them meeting the contingencies noted. Sorry about my voice. 4 establishments are not considered for renewal. That would be the Back Fin and Rock Hall. The store has permanently closed, and they surrendered their license to me on April 15th of 2023. Galena Liquors, their store is permanently closed. I will be doing a inspection on their establishment and also getting their license. So they're permanently closed too. We're waiting on one renewal application. We don't know if we'll be receiving one. And Waterman's Crab House, the new owners are in process of submitting a new application for a liquor license. We just need all the renewals approved with the contingencies that are noted.
Do they have a hearing date set for Waterman's?
Yes, that is correct.
You already have?
Isn't it the 25th?
The 25th of this month,
25th.
yes.
Good. Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve 52 renewal applications as presented and grant conditional approval to 8 applications, subject to satisfying any contingencies as noted.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay, thank you. Have a great
Uh-huh.
night.
The next items there is just a letter of support that that's just for our information. Then it's time for public comment and media review. Anybody? John?
Nope, nobody from the media.
John, what's going on? You gotta have something on your mind. No, it's
How's the new audio system working?
not too good tonight. We'll talk
You
about
can
it.
hear us, right? You're good, right? You can hear us fine, right? Then we're in good shape.
We have some glitches, but hopefully they'll be worked out. All right, then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Yeah. We are adjourned.